Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas. Today we're here in Oceanside, California at Evolve Skateboards. Now I'm new to riding electric skateboards. I've been riding mine for a few days, having a blast. This is gonna be fun. Sit back, get your favorite drink, enjoy the show. So guys, I'm stoked to introduce Joanna to the show.
Hello.
She's been great over the phone. Just having a lot of questions about my GTR all carbon board. And I thought it'd be great for us to come down and kind of learn from you a bit, maybe talk about our experiences. I think I'll speak for myself, but I know I'm speaking to a group in our community. This is pretty intimidating.
It can be, yeah.
Right? Top speed with all-terrain wheels is roughly 24 miles an hour?
Yeah, about 24, 25 miles an hour, yep.
Okay, so right off the bat, I was super nervous to even reach out to you guys and say, hey, we'd love to put one. Yeah, I want one, I want to review it, but then I'd actually have to ride it.
Right,
and,
exactly.
And I don't want to crash, you know? So I think that's kind of what our community is probably thinking. So maybe you could just talk us through some basics about the boards, the couple, I think you have a couple different constructions, right?
Yeah, so we have the two different models in the GTR, which is going to be the bamboo and the carbon that you can see here. Then we also have one of the things that makes our boards at least unique in the beginning when we first started was that you can actually switch out the wheels and the hubs to create a street conversion kit like this, or you can go with the all-terrain.
Right.
So it's very customizable to whatever your personal preference is. But I want to touch on the fear of falling and kind of the intimidation factor, which I find with a lot of customers, but especially women or surfers, that they're very dedicated to their sport. And so risking a fall out of the water is not really worth it to them. But what I tell people is, honestly, it's easier than riding a regular skateboard. So it seems very intimidating, but you can go at your own pace, your own speed. There's speed limiters, so you can start with eco mode, work your way up to sport, and then GTR mode. And so you really get a full customization that can cater it to your skill level. But yeah, honestly, easier than a regular skateboard as far as, because you're literally just standing. The remote's doing all of the leg work. You don't have to balance on one foot and kick. You're getting just using your body to carve. And you don't even really need it to create momentum. So yeah, definitely a lot less intimidating than it appears to begin with.
Now you talked about customization on not going 0 to 26, because I've getting on and using the remote. For me, I was pushing it, and then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, and I almost fell back a couple times, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. Now, when I put mine in custom mode, and I accidentally customized it to 12 miles an hour, which was great. I kind of eased my way into it, but it still has that torque on the takeoff, right? And I noticed that there's quite a bit of weight to the board. So when I got on and started to go, it was great. And when I thought, oh, when am I gonna hit the brakes here? And what is that gonna feel like? And just letting off the throttle kind of slowed it down.
Created a little bit of resistance with the all-terrain wheels, but it's mostly going to be the pulley and belt drive. So with that, what you're getting is that drag is going to feel like braking or resistance. So it is great for, say, when you're going downhill. I'm going full speed. Once I'm going, I can let off the trigger. You know, as you learn to understand the remote, it basically becomes a part of you. But yeah, so you can know when you can release off and just kind of coast. Versus, you know, if you're going full speed up a hill, say you're pulling full trigger. Going up a hill, the last thing you want to do is release instantly, because that's going to basically give you a downward force as if you were braking. Because it's going to put a lot of force onto the thing. So most likely you're going to come off the front. But as far as like if you're just cruising and you have the speed limiter to 12 miles an hour, even if you're going downhill a really steep hill, you won't go faster than 12 miles an hour.
That's excellent. And that's what my experience has been. It's been great. I feel safe on it.
Nice.
For sure. And then I customized the remote to take me to
with the app?
to about 19 miles an hour.
Okay.
So it's topping out at 19 right now, going up and down the trails, which I love. So even going uphill, I'm noticing that the board is still going 19.
Yeah, so when you're off-roading, are you doing like a pump track style or just bike paths?
Right now, I'm just on trails that are cement, concrete, that are downhill, then flats, then up, and it's pretty rough textured concrete. So the all-terrain wheels feel great.
Up. Yeah. Very grippy.
But very grippy. It feels great. And then I'm not so much worried about hitting any rocks.
Oh no, yeah. Even with the street wheels, honestly, you're gonna kick out a lot more than you expect. Just the difference between the durometer, so it's gonna be a lot softer than a standard skateboard wheel, or even just a standard longboard wheel.
Right.
It's gonna be softer, but also bigger.
Okay.
So with that compound, you're gonna go over much bigger obstacles. And I mean, I'm finding with even my little Stoke right there with the 85 millimeter Kawamas, I'm kicking out big pebbles.
Wow.
Just kicking out, not even having to worry about it.
Awesome.
And cracks and everything. You haven't experienced this yet?
No.
But it handles, because of the weight of the board and your momentum, it handles that really well.
Now I mentioned customizing the remote. You guys did a great video. That's how I learned how to do customizing on the actual remote to work on speed, get acclimated, comfortable with, you know, the mechanism itself. But maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the brake.
Sure.
What it felt like from your perspective, how long you've been skating for.
Okay. Well, so skating, I don't know, about 17, 18 years.
Okay.
Mostly just longboards, cruising around.
Sure.
I was never really good at the trick side of things. But I've been e-skating for about 5 years. I would say it was a very smooth transition. I stepped on a bamboo version of, it was actually the bamboo all-terrain, the GTX at the time, and I stood on it, and I felt like the crossover from my Sector 9. It was a smooth transition for me. And that was with the R2 remote. So the R2 remote was kind of, was at the time the best out there, best technology that we had, but it was pretty fragile. So what we came out with now is the phase remote, an aluminum alloy frame, which increases the durability a lot. One of the things that people don't really think about with the remote is that yes, it makes you go and stop, but it also has, you know, very carefully placed magnets and a lot of equipment inside of a very small space that keeps you going at a consistent speed, communicating with your motor controller, and you can choose how responsive or gradual it's going to be.
You mentioned your transition from a longboard Sector 9. So who I am as a surfer is I'm riding like more or less carver boards where I'm generating all my own speed. They're a lot shorter. The trucks are closer together. Everything's got a lot more pivot. So when I got on my GTR and I started to go, I wanted to turn, I was like, oh, and then I was thankfully going slow enough to where I felt like I couldn't turn it fast.
Right.
I don't longboard. I don't ride mid-length surfboards. I've barely ever ridden a cruiser type skateboard. So you and I are complete opposites.
Yeah, coming from different sides of it, which is kind of cool.
Right.
Which shows you just how this really is kind of a good fit for everyone.
Sure.
On the, you know, based on your skill level.
On the flip side of that, I think riding the GTR, and because it takes a bit more out of me to sit on the rail and carve, that will be good for my surfing game.
Right.
Because that's what we want to do, is we want to train ourselves to sit back. If we have a little bit more rail on a surfboard, it draws out the turn, feels very similar to my, I would call this a longboard from my perspective compared to what I'm used to riding.
Oh, definitely.
Now the last thing I want to talk about is actually the range I'm getting on my GTR. So I'm back and forth down the trails, and there's a long downhill, a long flat, and then a long uphill. And I haven't been able to ride it on the trails because there's a lot of deep sand.
Okay.
And I'm not saying the board won't go there. I'm just not good enough riding it to be having that kind of speed to get up across that sand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the range I found personally, I've been back and forth 5 or 6 times before I start to notice the thing actually slowing down?
With the GTR, you should be able to ride for long enough that you wouldn't really notice that much of a decrease in your acceleration and your basically the performance of the board.
Sure.
Until you get to about 5%, 10%, then it's going to start dropping you down. The range on our website is posted between 18 to 22 miles.
Yep.
But that's on the high end.
Okay.
So what we're quoting basically is, super light rider weight, average rider weight. We try to keep it average. There's a lot of different variables that go into being able to tell how long your board's going to last.
Sure.
And if you do want more miles, there's always the Hadian, which is basically the exact same thing.
Right.
You're just going to get a little bit more power and a little bit more, little bit larger battery, so you're getting more input into the battery.
Okay. Now running it on this surface right here, it's super smooth. Just pushing and trying to emulate surfing as much as I can. My back quad is absolutely burning. So you can get a proper workout right in this board and pushing hard through your turns. Guys, this is a great way not only to work on the twisting, also compress, extend through your turns and really slow the carve down because of the length of the board, and it has the traction. Great exercise for surfing. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on the GTR all carbon Evolve electric skateboard. I'm having a blast on this thing. I was super nervous and afraid to even get on one, but I thought what a great means of transportation to get back and forth to the surf, and now I'm pretty much hooked on it. I love how you can just get out and carve and push as hard as you want on your rails. I think you guys will be stoked on it, and if it's not on your radar, it should be. Special shout out thanks to Evolve for having us crash their Oceanside kind of storefront studio. They have a great service counter. I'm learning a ton about these boards. Look, if you like the show, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.